4 sessions, and I would like to inform that once again that the certificates will be issued immediately after the last sessions, that is on the 2nd of this next month, as well as the feedback forms will be restricted, that is for the till 3 p.m. only. So kindly be restricted to the time and the sessions also. So the next, that is, dear friends, as we all know that the Karnataka State Rural Development and Panchayat Raj University was established by the government of Karnataka through the Karnataka State Rural Development and Panchayat Raj Act of 2016. The university is started its activities from the academic year 2017 and 18 with the 5 courses initially. Later the period of the time with the 10 different courses from the academic year 2019-20. Friends, to speak about this virus, the virus has changed the way we are currently living in India and lot of the other places in the world during the lockdown. COVID-19, I believe it as a black swan of the event itself. To speak about the present things, the today's webinar session is been focusing on the report writing, the research methodology. To speak about the research methodology report writing as well as the why the report writing is essential, let me introduce our resource person. Today's resource person. Let my explanation should represent on the resource person talks itself. Dear friends, I just would like to give a brief introduction of our today's resource person who is present over here. I would like to state that the success is not the final. The resource person, what is been believed. The success is not been final. Failure is not a fatal. It is the courage to continue the counts. To be successful, you have to use each day as an opportunity to improve, to be the better, to get a little bit closer of your goals. It might be sound like a lot of work and with a busy schedule, next to impossible, but the best part is the more you accomplish, the more you will want to be, the higher you will want to reach. Why I used it is a person from the village called Baikady near Honnavara, Karwar district. And the person, one who started his career as a supplier in a hotel at the class of 8th until the post graduation. The next life is, that's a history, there is no look back after that. We feel very proud to introduce Mr. Dr. Rajendra Baikady, who has reached many universities across the world with his works. The one always used to state that luck never works, hard work definitely counts for you, as his writings on the walls of his Facebooks and everywhere what he states. So I feel proud to introduce to the incredible personality, Dr. Rajendra Baikady, the postdoctoral fellow at the Hebrew Universities of Jerusalem, Israel. Dr. Rajendra Baikady is a social work educator and a researcher. He is the winner of the Gold Meir, the postdoctoral fellow at the Hebrew Universities of the Jerusalem, Israel during the 2019 and 20, and the Confucius Studies Understanding the China Fellowship, postdoctoral fellowship research at a Shandong University, the People's Republic of the China during the 2018 and 19. The Baikady was one among the 20 selected candidates for the short-term research award by the Ministry of the Education, Government of Taiwan, and conducted the research at the National Chengxi University, Taiwan during the June-July 2018. Dr. Baikady was awarded the prestigious Inlax Foundation's Research Travel Grant 2015 and Indian Council of the Social Science Research to collect the Data Abroad Scholarship 2015 for conducting his research at the Shandong University of China. Dr. Baikady has been awarded URC Special Doctoral Fellowship at the University of Johannesburg, South Africa for the academic year 2020 to 2022. His most recent books co-edited are Social Welfare Policies and Programs in South Asia, Routledge of the New York, which has been publishing, The Building Sustainable Communities, Civil Society Responses in South Asia, that's been Palgrave Macmillan's, Singapore, the Palgrave Handbook of the Global Social Work Education, that's by publishing by the Palgrave Macmillan, New York, again, the Social Welfare in India and China, a Comparative Perspective, Palgrave Macmillan, Singapore again. His forthcoming titles are Social Work Education in India and China, a Comparison, publishing by the Routledge of the New York, the Routledge International Handbook of the Fieldwork Education in Social Work, that's been Routledge in the New York again, the Routledge International Handbook of the Social Work Fieldwork Education in the Global South, that is publishing by the Routledge again New York, and the Routledge International Handbook of the Poverty in the Global South, publishing by the Routledge New York again. He is co-editing the journal special issue of the Social Work and the Society to be published in 2020, and also has an ongoing international collaboration with the researchers from China, Israel, Japan, Slovenia, and the South Africa. So presently, he is at the Hebrew Universities of the Jerusalem, Israel, and conducting the research under the supervision of the John Gull. So Dr. Baikady also has a special appointment in the Department of the Social Work, University of the Johannesburg, South Africa, as a senior research associate for the period of 2020-2022. Sir, Dr. Baikady, we are very happy you being with us today, and thank you very much for accepting our invitation and joining for the webinar. I welcome you wholeheartedly and express our sincere gratitude for accepting the invitation on behalf of the Karnataka State Rural Development and Panchayat Raj University family. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
So further, I extend a warm welcome to our beloved Vice Chancellor in absentia, Professor Vishnukant Chatpalli. I also extend a warm welcome to our Registrar, Professor Dr. S.P. Nadgaudar, sir, without whom we are incomplete. On behalf of the Department of Commerce, I express our sincere thanks for giving us an opportunity to arrange this 7 days national level live webinar series. So I would like to welcome Dr. Abdul Aziz, Assistant Director, Center for Training, Publication and Supervision. Welcome you, sir, in absentia. So last but not the least, I also welcome all the course coordinators, faculty members, students of all the departments, also the participants to the 5th day national level live webinar series. Thank you very much, sir, for accepting the as a resource person for our webinar series. I also would like to state that Dr. Rajendra Baikady belongs to the Karnataka, that too from the Honnavara, that too from the Baikady village. We are very proud that you are with us, and we are happy for your session also. We are happy, and I also extend my warm welcome to you once again. And the session is yours, Mr. Dr. Baikady. Please.
So, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. So, including the Vice Chancellor and all the faculty members of the university, and for you for hosting it and giving me this opportunity, Shashikant sir, and all the participants, whoever is there and even still joining. So thanks for joining this session, and I'll start sharing the screen so that, okay. Shashikant sir, can you please make me as a co-host so that I can share the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll just it has been adjusted now, I believe. You can host
Yeah.
it now, please.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Just a minute.
Yes, your screen is visible, sir.
Is visible?
Yes, visible, visible.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Okay.
But here it is not showing the
Acha.
screen. Sorry. It's okay. No problem. It's visible,
Yes,
right?
it's visible, visible, visible.
Okay, okay, okay. Just a minute, sir. There is some. Yes. So today's topic given to me is research report writing. So let me focus how it is important and what are the basic things we need to keep in mind while writing a report. So I'll focus on a general report, then I'll focus on the main points need to be kept in mind while preparing the report. And the last part, I'll focus on writing journal articles. So what you have to do, or what are the areas you need to focus when you are writing a journal article, because this is just a report which you are going to submit it as something like a funding or your dissertations or theses. That is a report. And the next part is like next level of that is like you are preparing it as a journal article. So let's first focus like while preparing your report or while writing your report, the things you need to keep it in mind, like importance of a report is like the purpose of report. Like you have to keep it in mind, it's written to be read, like read by someone else. Like a key thing to keep in mind right through your report writing process is that report is written to be read by someone else, it is not by you. Like if you are writing it for the some academic courses, then it's your supervisor who is going to read it, your teacher who is going to read it. Or if you are writing it for a PhD or MPhil or a thesis dissertation, then of course the external examiner is going to read it. And of course your juniors, whoever comes, they're going to read it. Other than that, like if you are writing a report for a funder, then of course the funding agency is going to read, like, because what are the findings of this research. And beyond that, if they make it public, then of course the larger public or larger audience going to read it. So you have to keep it in mind, the report is going to be read by someone else and not by me. So if you keep that point in your mind, then you will prepare the report accordingly. So of course, obviously we need it to be good, right? Something which is someone else is going through, then of course we will definitely want it to be the good report. And also like you have to keep it in mind intended audience, like who are the people going to read it, which level of the people going to read it, or is it an expert who is going to read your report, or is it a layman or a person who is with general knowledge or general understanding going to read it. Then accordingly that you have to prepare your report. Like for example, if you're preparing a report of a master's, because I'm not sure what are the levels of participant here, but I assume that there are a lot of PhD scholars and of course students at master's and undergraduate level, and also early career faculty members. So of course I think early career faculty members may be having experience of evaluating the report written by their students. And of course, PhD and MPhil and master students write a lot of report. I know some academic, of course, I think all academic disciplines needs you to submit one or the other report. So of course, you will have to write it within your course time. So keep in mind who is the person going to read it, like who are the audience, or who are the larger like larger group of people who are going to look into it. And also the next broader possibility is like that a report is readable by your peers or by your juniors down the line. Like for example, you completed your study and submitted a report of 5 years back, then the same report can be there in your library for a long time till the institution is there. So people whoever comes the next, then definitely they go and read what our seniors did, or what the people who already came here did. So that becomes a guiding light for those people. So it should be in a way, it should guide people who comes next. So that also you should keep it in mind, so that it should not mislead someone, rather it should help people to understand the things more clearly. So that's why you have to be careful while when you write the report. And also this has like a greater value since someone else can continue on your work and improve it or learn from your work. So you have to be careful about that. Like learnings should lead to the for the next person's learnings depends on your report. So if you interpret something or if you write something which is not actually based on an evidence, then of course it will create it will mislead the people like that. So you have to be careful about that. And in the best case possibility, like your report is of publishable quality, like that is readable and useful for the technical community. So that is the one which I'm going to cover in the last part of this. So how you can write a research article or a journal article out of your report, whatever the study you do, and result of that, how can you do write and submit it for a journal. Because the use is that when you write a report and submit it to your library, it stays in your library. It doesn't goes anywhere out of that. So there is no larger audience who are coming to that. As I explained, your seniors or your juniors or your faculty members or whoever visits the library will go through that. So that's it. But when it is published in a journal, then you will get a larger audience all over the globe who are reading that. So but of course we have to be careful where you publish. That I'll explain you that uh, where you have to focus on while publishing your reports as an article. So let us look at what are the steps in writing a report. So the step one is like analyze the task. Like before starting your report, you have to be careful about like what is the purpose of the report. Like it could be analyzing or like reporting on an investigation. So you conducted an investigation and that you are reporting to the larger number of audience. If you are for example, I'll give you because I come from a social work background. So social work students go for field work and they come back and they write a report and they submit it to their teachers. So the
Hello.
use of that.
Dr.
Yes.
Rajendra, sir, sorry for the interruption. I just want to state one thing. Can you maximize the screen? That is because most of the people are asking for that.
Now.
Actually, you need to go for screen sharing. That
Yeah, that's what I did actually. It took some time, but didn't. Yeah, now it's happening. Just wait for a minute. Slideshow. I
yes,
clicked
yes.
slideshow.
Okay.
Yes. Now it is.
Fine, sir. Now, fine, fine. Visible. Sir. Sorry for the interruption. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So the first step is that analyzing the task, or like you have to analyze the task, like what is the purpose of the report, or like it could be analyzing or persuading or reporting on an investigation. So you carried out an investigation and you are writing the findings of that investigation. That is the report. So you go to field work, you visit a company, you went for a study tour, or you went for an internships. So after coming back, you will write a report. So that is like you conducted some investigation there, so you are writing a report. So you have to be uh, clear about the purpose of the report, because based on the purpose of the report, your reports uh, the format of your report changes most of the time, because some informations which you have to include comes because of the purpose of the report. And also, who is the audience of the report? Again, I explained there like earlier, who is going to read this report in the larger society or larger, even if you consider university, who is going to read it? That also matters there. And also, what is the word limit of that? And in many times, word limit only includes the body of the reports. Like if you are submitting a report for a funder, then of course they will ask you 200 words, 300 words, or of course it is very short, of course, but 2000 word, 4000 word if they ask. When you go for article writing, most of the journal will ask you within 7,000 words, because for most of the people, I'll tell you, it is easy to write higher word limit, like because 10 15,000 words, but it is difficult to write lower word limit, because you have to be very careful. Within 5,000 words, whatever the information you have to use, you have to give, you have to include them. That is quite tougher task. It is not that easy, because it is easy to write a lengthier one. So you have to be careful about word limit also, so that you know what are the information and how much amount you can include for each part of the report. And what is the topic of the report? Like the topic may be specified by, if it is a study report, of course lecturer will give you, but other than that, most of the time it's your own choice. If you go for a research, of course it's your own choice. If you go for writing an article, it's your own choice. So then of course you will have a free uh, opportunity to choose whatever is your interested area for writing a report. And what is the expected format of the report? So which format you have to submit, that also you have to take into consideration while writing the report. So this is the first step which you have to prepare for, because this is the base, or this is like setting the ground. Then it helps you for the next step. It is like developing a rough plan is the second step. So because once you have decided who is going to read, what is the topic, how many word limit, and what is the intention, or what is the outline of the research, then you will prepare here more clear outline, or developing a rough plan, like using the section headings. And with the assistance of that, you will prepare a rough plan, like write the thesis statement that clarifies the overall purpose of your report, or like jot down anything you already know about the topic in the relevant sections. For example, let us take an example, like you are writing something about a poverty, the issue is something about poverty, and you are focusing your own area. Take, you are from whichever the state you are looking at that. I'll take example of Karnataka. Somebody is writing a report on Karnataka poverty, situation of poverty in Karnataka, and analysis. So then of course you have to find the information about poverty, because most of the people, we come from villages, of course. Otherwise, even in the urban, people know poverty, what is poverty today. So the even though changing scope, but everybody know about poverty. So whatever the information you know, if you jot down those points, then it will help you to strengthen your report in the later part when you write the main section of your report. And the third step is like actual the research which you do here, because you decided in the first step, and the second step you prepared a small outline of that, and the third step is the actually like based on first and second step, whatever the workout you have done, that leads to the third step, that is doing a research. Step 1 and step 2 will guide you research for this report, and you may need to report on other research on a particular topic, or do some research of your own, like maybe collecting review. That comes in the next part. I'll explain it more detail, but here like somebody else did a research, so you are finding information from that and preparing your report based on that. And also you have to keep referring to your analysis and rough plan while you are doing your research, to ensure that you are on the track, because you have prepared outline in the first stage. So that will help you to go for this stage actually, because that is where the outline is required. Otherwise what happens is that you will be out of track, and finally you will end up with the huge bulk data, but you don't know where it leads actually, or what it concludes, or what is the major finding in that report. Or in a sense, if somebody asks you to summarize the report, then you will be nowhere, like you will be not in a position to do that. So that's where you have to be careful, that you have to keep on that outline, and that helps you to be on track. And also this is the time consuming, and do give time for this, because in the research report writing, the major part is doing the research, because this is the part where you collect the information, or this is the part where you actually structure or strengthen your report. So that's why it is more time consuming, and of course you have to give time for that. And the next step is the fourth one, like draft the body of your report. This is like the main part of how your report looks like. I'm not giving you an idea here, of course. I'll explain what are the points comes in that. Uh, then you will get an idea what are the things need to be included in a report. So first part is like introduction again. In the introduction part, what we have to include, because most of us, introduction is the setting the ground for your research again. And if you don't write your introduction properly, or a very clear introduction, then the reader will lose interest in the beginning itself. So they will not continue to the next part of your report. So to keep your reader engaged, you have to write a precise and a clear introduction, and that should include like what is this setting, what is the setting of the problem, like what problem you are going to address in your report, and like this is in other words like the background of the research report which you are writing. For example, again, take the example of poverty again. uh, what is the situation of poverty in your state? How many people are there living in poverty? What are the definitions which are applicable for those people? And what are the reasons for those people's poverty? And since how many years there is poverty? Is there any programs and policies available for these people? So all these things are the background which you have to collect there. So that all comes in the introduction part. And also, what exactly is the problem you are trying to solve in your report? Because we have to keep one thing in mind, is that research is finding a solution for a problem. So when you write research, a report is like you conduct a research and you are writing report out of that. So of course there is a solution which you are trying to find. It doesn't matter you go for an experiment, or you go for a field work, or you go for a survey, or you go for interviews, whatever it may be. Without doing that also you can find a solution. Even desk research happens in many places where you collect secondary data. I know management people or commerce people do a whole lot of with your data sets. So that is also finding a solution. So but you have to be clear in the introduction part that what the problem you are trying to find the solution, and also what is the problem, why the problem is important. There are so many issues. Out of that, why you particularly picked up this problem? For example, if again poverty, why that poverty is bothering you, so that you have to explain in the introduction part. And also, uh, is the problem still unsolved? That is where like the rationale of your research report comes, because it's there till, and that's why I'm going to research it again and documenting it as a report. And why is the problem difficult to solve? That is also you have to include in the introduction. So introduction is of course like uh, uh, actual face sheet for your entire report, because it gives an idea what is the overall structure of this report, like what are the things included in this, or what are the things covered in this report. By reading an introduction, people can easily understand. So that's why you have to there should be a link between your research problem and research questions and your the introduction part, whatever you write. So it should lead to the next part of your report. And the second part in that, like in body of the report, is literature review. Uh, Another important one aspect, like you are already looking at who already conducted a research on this area, or what are the findings of that. That is, we call it as like you are giving an evidence. You are saying that there is poverty in Karnataka or whichever the state, and you are saying that already researches which are conducted in this area prove that there is poverty still prevailing. even in 21st century, or whatever you say, like even technological development, even science, and there are so many other developments which happen, globalization, business, industrialization, everything happened, but still we have poverty. So that is where you are looking at 20 years back there was poverty, 5 years back there was poverty, and there is a whole lot of research happened. Even yesterday somebody must have prepared a report on poverty. So it may not be available for you, of course, the yesterday's one, because it depends on which place you sit and which place you are, you have the accessibility. But however, you will have availability of resources which are most frequently done. So that you have to collect it as a review of literature, which are related to your research questions. And while doing review of literature, you can follow two methods. One is chronological format, where you discuss from the earliest to the latest research. For example, I'll tell you, like, if you look at poverty again, you may go back to the independence period. So because that is the time when we had a lot of poverty, because people who came to India because of the divide of the country, and there are a whole lot of population which came into Indian side. And of course there were already poverty and there were no industrialization at that point of time. So there are so many things which you focus from there. And after that you look at another 10-year, what is the situation? Did it decreased or increased? If it increased or if it decreased, in which angle it increased or decreased? So that is where we go for chronological, the first one starting until the new one. Like for example, somebody conducted a study in 2019 or 20 which is available for you. So till there you come as a chronological order. And writing also, you will write it in a chronological order. And keep it in mind, most of the people, what they do is that they write study 1, study 2, study 3, study 4. That should not be the way of writing a review of literature. You should go for the thematic way, or you should go for clubbing these findings and writing it in a narrative way, not finding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Most of the people do this. If you go back and check any dissertation, if you go back and check any even reports of a funding agency, you will find this. So, but it should not be the way of writing. It should be in a narrative way. And the next one is thematic way of writing review of literature. Either way you can follow, whichever is convenient for you or whichever you feel like good for your topic, or maybe interesting for the readers. So in thematic way, outlining the various themes that you discovered in the research regarding the topic. Like again, you will need to start where you research fits. It you write like thematic. Again, I'll go back to the example of poverty, where you will say that causes for poverty and like impact of poverty, and maybe next policies on that, programs on that, and why still poverty is there. So these are the themes which you find from your earlier research, and accordingly you write. So this is the one way of writing it. And in both way, if you write it, it will be interesting for the readers if you follow that order. And also it will be in a more interesting readable way, rather than looking at study 1, study 2, study 3, so and so. So that should not be the way. So the next part in main research body of the research report is methodology. And here is where you are going to write what you did actually, like, because it is actually most interesting part, of course, because here you write your experiences of conducting research. If it is a field-based research, then of course you will be much interested in writing it, because you had many different varieties of experiences of meeting people in the field, or discussing with the people, or you encountered so many problems during your field work or data collection. Those all things you write here, because starting from the uh, day you started your research, how it went on till the end of your collecting data, that you write here. Like here you clearly outline what methodology you use in your research. That is like what did and how did you do it. uh, Designs we focus here, sampling methods, of course it all depends on your uh, research topic. Like, for example, if you go for qualitative or quantitative, there are methodologies. I'm not going to focus on all those things because, of course, it will take a lot of time. So I'll just focus only on what you had to write here. So how you did it, that's it. Like, you went for interview data collection in the field, then how you did those interviews, that you have to write it in your own words. That's why I said, when you write it in your own words, it will be more interesting, because it is almost like you are writing your own experiences. So it definitely excites you, like, to write those experiences. And also, after some time, if you read, you will feel like this is what you did. So you'll feel quite energized, of course. And also, it is usually written in a passive voice, like, that is, example, the participants were asked to fill in the questionnaire attached in the appendix 1. Like, you keep it in there in the appendix, you gave a questionnaire to the, you conducted a survey. So here you have to be careful about the language, because how you have to write, rather than writing it as like in an active voice, like, I asked the participant to fill in the questionnaire attached in the appendix. So it is not. So you should not use that way of writing the language. You should always write, participants were asked to fill in the questionnaire. So this is important. When you write report, language is also the important one. I'll focus again on the last part of that, how you can modify with the language. And the next part is results. Actually, of course, the important one after the methodology, you come to, like, this is where you indicate what you found in your research. You give the result of your research, but do not interpret them here, because you show them, like, if you go for a graphical representation, or if you go for a tabular representation, whatever the method you go for. Again, it depends on the approach you followed. If you follow quantitative, of course, it comes in a graph or tables and all. But if you follow qualitative, of course, it comes in a larger report, like more words most of the time, because you go for a narrative methodology, or you go for a case study methodology, and all those will come as a report again. So it depends. But here you write the report, most important findings of your research, the methodology you followed, after that, what you found out of that. Again, if I give example of poverty, uh, after conducting the research, what's your findings? Like, how many percentage of people are poor in that particular area, and why they are still poor? You had that question in the beginning when you started writing your report, or when you started writing your research, and here you find answer for that. And here you give answer for the other people to read. This is what my findings. This is what I found. I went along with these questions, and here I found answer for those. So here you put all those findings. And the next part you go for is the discussion. Here is the part where you interpret those things, or like, this is where you discuss the relevance of your results and how your findings fit with the other research in the area. So discussion is like, again, taking the example, why you found this particular result, like your particular result and the previous studies, what are the comparison there? So is it that the your report says that poverty is still there despite of so many programs which are implemented by the government? And the previous report, research report also said the same things. The poverty is increasing despite of whatever the programs implemented by both governmental and non-governmental organizations. So how you interpret that, or how you discuss that, and what are the reasons you give for that, is the discussion part. So keep it in mind again. Here you discuss your findings, not just putting those findings. You give evidence for that again, quoting earlier researchers here, you again, but it should not become again review of literature, because most of the place what people do is that simply they put a lot of discussion in the sense like that researcher, this researcher. It exactly resembles like your review of literature rather than discussion. Discussion should bring in your research findings, but it should be supported with the other findings which are relevant to that. So that is where you have to be careful while writing the discussion. you have to be it should be more interesting also, because people usually read your discussion more than the result. People go for the discussion, because of course these are the findings, and how he discusses these findings is most interesting for the people. So you have to be careful there. And the next part is conclusion, which is of course again like almost like you are going for a kind of summarizing your whole research report. If somebody looks at only the conclusion, then also they should be in a position to get what is the overall idea of this research. So in that way you have to write like, in this summary of the most significant results findings, you should not include any new materials in this section, because most of the time what people do is that in the conclusion you introduce new concepts again that may be the findings of your research, but all those you have to introduce in the earlier sections. Here nothing new should come, so everything which are already discussed you are summarizing here, that's it. There is no new findings or results should bring in here. And also you should not sometimes you could indicate some areas where research has limits or where further research would be useful. Limitations of the research you can include in the conclusion. Like for example, saying that despite of the study was conducted only in one state, so I cannot generalize it to the entire country, but it will give a overall picture of a state and the status of poverty in one particular state. So the limitations which you are giving. And also if you conducted only qualitative, then you can say that quantitative part is missing here, so there are some informations which could have been captured through quantitative. So these are the limitations which you can focus. And also you can give a further direction for the research at this, like the next person who is going to do research on this area or who is going to research on this particular issue can focus on this issue. So that you have to give it in a conclusion. And the recommendation is like, this includes suggestions for what need to be done as a result of your findings. Recommendations are usually listed in the order of priority: first, second, third, fourth. Like if you see again the topic, if it is poverty, then how, what are the findings of your research? Based on that findings, what you will do. Poverty is still there, so what you can do for that, or what the reader, maybe a policymaker, is reading your research because it's on poverty. Of course, definitely people who are researching on poverty, people who are formulating poverty would be interested in reading your report to know that how I can formulate my policies more relevant to the people. So and that particular time the person should be in a position to highlight all those recommendations. So based on this research I give this recommendation. And believe me, those recommendations will always have a high level of impact because it's coming from your research. If you are conducted it properly. And also that's why I'm focusing. Just imagine you conducted a research but which was not properly reported, and in the findings, discussions, and recommendations, you have given some recommendations but which are not actually based on the fact. Then if it goes to the policymakers or to the people who are taking decision, then it leads to the disasters. So that is why you have to be very careful when you write a recommendations. And also it leads to the, because this research will be read by the next person who is conducting the research, and this guides him, so you have to be careful in that part. And this fifth step, once you do all this major part of the research, is the next part is like step is fifth step, that is drafting the supplementary materials, that is reference or bibliography. And I hope most of us know the difference between these references and bibliography, because reference is something when we put you have particularly quoted someone, or you particularly referred someone's study, so you are giving that person. In text also you wrote, you have given his name, and the same thing should come to the reference list, end reference list. So that's why we call it as reference. There should not be anything extra other than which is the person or the study which is quoted in your main research. But if you have, for example, you read a book, you are not quoting that book, but that book informed your findings, discussion, conclusion, everything in your report, and you want to give the name of that report or that book in your report, then of course you have to go for the bibliography, because it is not the particular one. For example, I'll tell you reference, like you quoted Baikady 2020, like 2020, you put it somewhere in the text, then of course it should come in the reference list. But if you are putting bibliography, then you no need to give his name in the main text, but you included it in the bibliography. So that is the difference you have to see. And most of the time for the report we use the bibliography. It's not the may not be the reference, but it depends on the funders, or if it is thesis, it depends on your supervisor, university policy, and many other things whichever comes technologically there, technically there. And uh, but it, like, if you are writing an article, journal article, then definitely it is not bibliography, it is a reference, because exactly what you cited, you should give the reference list for that. Then no journals accepts bibliography, it is always reference, exact list of references you have to give, whatever, whoever you referred there. So that is the difference which you have to keep it in mind. And also this must be done using a reference convention specified by your lecturer or tutor. There are so many softwares which will help you to generate references, because majority of you may be knowing, like, we usually or we largely use APA referencing, American Psychological Association's referencing style, largely used one. Other than that, there is Chicago style of referencing. There are also people who use Harvard style of referencing, but major journals or major like widely accepted one is APA. And we were using APA 6th referencing style, but now they have come up with the new one, or the 7th one. But some people have already migrated to the 7th one. But there are no major changes. But there are something like you can cite your media talk, you can cite so many other things which were not included in the 6th edition of APA. So that is where you can go for. But if you go for online, giving that APA referencing style, you will get a window. If you put, it will help you to, if it will guide you, no need that you have to know each and everything. That will ask you, put the author name, and then put the year. And after all of mentioning all those things, if you click generate reference, then it will give you exact reference which you have to put. Only thing, you have to make sure that you put all the informations which are required there, and you have all this information, and you should just mention those things there, and then you have to click on the generate. It gives you the exact reference which you have to use it in your end reference list. It will also give you in-text referencing style also, because in-text referencing, what we do is, like, only the last name of the author we use. It is not in APA, we use only the author name, last name of the author. Like, if it is Rajendra Baikady, then you only use the Baikady 2020. You don't put, like, complete name of the person. So that is you have to go for APA. But of course you have to be quite sure that your report needs what kind of a reference. It depends on, again, the type of report you are writing, the audience of the report, or the, in other sense, owner of the report. If it is the university professor who is asking you to write, then you have to ask him which method he want to use you. Or if it is a funder related report, then you have to ask your funder which report, which type of references they want you to put in your report. So that is where the report referencing comes. And keep it in mind, it's very, very important to give you a reference list, because that is where you are giving the evidences again. Because where my findings are supported from, like, I found these results in my research, but they are supported by these findings which were already conducted. So that is very, very important, because whatever you write without a reference list is not considered as an academic or scientific articles or a report. So that you have to keep it in mind. And it just becomes a piece of writing. It doesn't becomes an article, or it doesn't becomes a scientific writing. So that's why you have to write the report reference, and in a acceptable manner. As I said, whatever the APA or Harvard, Chicago, whatever the method. And the next part is appendices. Like it is like this should add extra informations. Like for example, you used an interview schedule for data collection, that should come here. And you have a glossary because you are conducting research on a new area. So you want your readers of the report should know some terminologies, maybe like short terms of something, acronyms you used. So those acronyms need to be explained clearly. So those all things comes into the appendices. So because they're the extra things which you give. And also if you include appendices, they must be referred to in the body of the report. Like for example, I said in methodology, while writing data collection, you should mention that report interview schedule was used. Then you have to say in the bracket, you can mention that see appendices 1. So you have given the reference here. So the person comes and checks there, then he gets the entire information or entire detail. So that you have to keep it in mind. And each appendix will must be named and numbered. So as I said, 1, 2, 3, or whatever Roman letter or whatever the method you follow, ABCD also you can give, but it depends again on the uh, overall format of the research report which you are following. So this is uh, where the main body of the report comes to an end. And the next one is drafting the preliminary materials, because most of us, what we do is that we do all the other things very perfectly, like introduction, review, methodology, findings, discussion, everything is perfect. But the major part is like the beginning, is like the outline of your research, like those preliminary materials which are also important. So you have to take care of that also. Title of the report, which like make sure this is clear and indicates exactly what you are researching, because sometimes the topic or the title plays a very important area even for the reader, because most of the time when I read an article, I get an it should be an eye-catching title and also related to your topic. So you have to know how to formulate that title according to your research questions, because it should not be misleading title also. It should be a clearly indicating what is this all about. At the same time, it should be interesting also. So you can write it in a interesting way if you do a bit homework behind the topic. And also people will look into that. Even just imagine your own case. When you go to a bookstall, most of the time something with a different name catches your attention rather than a simple name. I'll give an example. Usually this newspaper people do that. You might have experienced or you might have seen that. One example if you want me to give is that sometime when Advani gave a politician who gave a resignation because of some force or some, of course, external pressure. I remember Udayavani, it is a newspaper in Karnataka. They gave a statement saying that Addavanige Taledanda. It means that he gave some wrong statement and that led him to giving a resignation. Such kind of a titles, which is, of course, it is newspaper titles. But of course, if you go for the research, you will find uniqueness in finding the titles for your report. But of course, keep it in mind, it should always address your purpose of your report, what it's all about. That is also important. So the next part is like table of content, list all sections, subheadings, tables, graphs, of course appendices, whatever you put there, and give page numbers for each. So because that is the most of the time if you read a book also, you first go to the table of content to see that what's the content of the book, rather than going for the whole book. You find a table of content, then you go to the particular chapter or particular page number, so you have to give the page number. So this is also important as a part of a formulating your report, because without this, it is not, of course, complete. And abstracts or synopsis, we call it as, like, this gives a very brief overview of the report in a condensed form. And most of the people fail in writing a abstract or a synopsis, because, as I said, we are very good in writing lengthy reports, but abstract is something which should be within 250 to 300 words. It should not go beyond that. So in 250 to 300 words, you have to summarize, or you have to give the overall idea of your complete report. Just imagine you have a 500-page reports. That 500 page should come in your 250 words. So that is the importance of an abstract. And that should be always giving a clear idea. Reading the abstract, I don't know how many of you read a journal article in that way, because I'm sure majority of our institutions will not get all the journals. So what we do is that when we read title of the article, we immediately go to the abstract of the article, because abstract gives us what the methodology followed, what is the major findings, and what is the discussion about. Then if we find it is very important for my study, we can request somebody, I want this article. So can you give me this full article? You can request your friends, or you can request somebody else who is in some other places who have all the accessibility. So that is why abstract is more important, because you cannot read the complete report because you don't have accessibility for that, but the abstract will give you the idea. The readers comes from there. So that's why you have to keep it in mind. Synopsis or abstract is important because it gives you overall idea about your uh, research projects. So tips for writing the research report. These are, of course, in a way which helps you to keep your research in a very attractive manner. Like, prepare the context before starting or writing. Write and start from the basics. Like, what are the context you're going to address in your report? That is most important. As I said, it helps you to keep on track. And also keep the target audience in mind while selecting and format that is clear, logical, and obvious to them. So as I said, if you are writing a report for a layman, the layman is a person whoever reads, they should understand it. And expert reports are different because only an expert can understand that. In the subject field, he is an expert, so he can read that. He can read and understand what it is, but not the normal people can understand that. Normal in the sense, the general public can understand that. So that is where you have to be important. Like, for example, you are writing a report for a farmers, and if you write it in a way like a researcher can only understand, then it's of no use, because audience should be very clear. Who is the audience for your research? That is very important. And also have a clear research objectives. As I said in the first also, it leads to the uh, uh, proper research report and also findings. And also gather all the information about the research topic. uh, Review, most of the time important. You have to keep and watch, like, you keep watching what are the things happened there, new research happened there, what are the new findings, all those things, even the discussion, because it may not be a research article published somewhere, but you discussed the topic with somebody else. You can even cite that. You can even give that as a findings of your research. And also check grammar and spellings. This is where I said the language importance there. Of course, I understand most of us come from a vernacular language, or like a local language which we study most of the time. I think people from Karnataka, I'm sure, like I come from Karnataka, and I too studied from in a Kannada medium, and I know how much difficulties we face. Even people from Maharashtra study in Marathi, all the education and all. But what you can do here is that, of course, and also we should agree that we are expert in English, because we doesn't come from an English speaking country. So what you can do is that there are a lot of methods which you can get the help. There is something software called Grammarly. I don't know how many of you use. I never used it, but I know there are people who write to the books of which I'm actually working on. Tell me that they used Grammarly. There is a pro version which you have to purchase, paying some money. Then it will show you the alternative words, which are the grammar mistakes you did. Even the spelling, basic spelling mistakes and all, it will show. Other than that, if you go to a higher level, you can go for a professional proofreader. So there is a whole lot of companies, professional proofreaders who are mostly from the West, like countries from America, UK, and all. Those people will read your report. They will completely edit it and they will give it to you. Of course, you have to pay for them. So whatever the charges they have, you have to pay for that. Make sure that, and discuss only the discoveries that are significant. Of course, it should be important findings only, and also the graphs must be clear enough that they understand themselves. When you use a graph in your report, you have to be careful that there is no explanation same to be given there again. Most of the reports, if you find people do this mistake, they give the graph, the same explanation is again below the graph or the table, the same, like for example, 50% of respondents were male, 50% of respondents were female. They write it also. If you're looking at the table, you can understand that. It's understandable from there. And people write the explanation for that also again. So that need to be avoided. What is not there, that you have to focus in the explanation. So that you have to take care of. And also be clear with the message. It should not be in a confusing manner. So whatever you write, you have to be very, very thorough. You have to be very, very clear. So it should not lead the reader to in a confusion. After reading the report, he should not get the idea that what is this? So I am in a confusion now. So it should not be. He should get a clear idea, and also he should get a way forward from your report. So that is how you have to focus on. Be creative with the titles. I explained it already. Create an effective conclusion. As I said, it is very, very important how you conclude. How you start is also important. The same way how you conclude is also important, because it's also going to have a long listing impact, so, or impression. So that is also important. Get a couple of more pair of eyes to read the report. It's like I always say, let your peer read your report. Maybe your own classmates if it is students, maybe your own batchmates if it is research students or scholars. Even a best friend of yours, you can ask him, you can, if you can rely upon him, like, I have written something, can you read and give it to me? Your own professors who are in good understanding, in the sense they can read and give you feedback, you can ask them. Or if there is a mentor, most of the time you may have a supervised guide, may not be a official guide for you, but the person who helps you to improve your writing. So it is always better to send that person before sending it to the particular authority. Like for example, if it is to a funder, better ask your few of your friends to read the report. Of course, you will get 5 different perspectives, and also, of course, they will find out something which need to be changed. So that is the best way to improve your report before doing it. Be it is an assignment, but don't allow people to copy it. Of course, just make sure that it's your own report. It's not going to be copied, but you will get a different feedback from the people. That will definitely help you to improve your writing. So this is about writing a report. I hope I covered almost the major things, and hope it gives you an overview. The next small part, this is only one slide which I have put, and I hope this will be helpful for you people. And journal article. The next level of report is journal article, because as I said, if you're writing a master's thesis, or if you're writing a MPhil thesis, if you're writing a PhD thesis, then it becomes a thesis. It's just a report. It is not a article, of course, because report, the way we write a report, the way we write an article is entirely different. The report is for only to be read by an examiner. or a person who is in the same level. But articles are not. Articles are for the larger audience. So that's why you have to be uh, you will just bring out the findings of your research to a larger audience. That is journal articles. And here I just want to give you 3-4 important points which you have to keep it in your mind. One is like, if you are planning to write an article in a journal, I know that it is an important aspects everybody want to do, of course, and also it's a need of the hour for many people for their promotion or whatever it may be, for studies or whatever it may be. So, but what we do most of the time is there are some mistakes which we do, which I tell you in the next part. But here, first, what you have to do is, first thing to do is like which journal you're going to focus, because that decides most of the time what you're going to write, how you're going to write your research. Because each, believe me, each journal will have its own focus. Each journal will have its own way of writing. So what I suggest is that go to that particular journal in your subject area and focusing on your area or focusing on your research area or your report, whichever is there. Then download some article from there, read those articles, which will give you a clear idea what actually they're looking for, what kind of uh, method they are expecting you to write your article. And also it is important, each journal have their own referencing style. Each journal have their own way of writing review of literature and structure of the article, word limit, and the words you have to use, because some journals expect you to write only the US English, and some journals may ask you to write only in UK English. So this is important because there are words which comes are different there. So uh, you have to be careful about that. That's why it is always better decide which journal you are going to write and focus on that only. Because if you focus on a particular journal and write your article, then you will save a whole lot of time and energy, and there is high level of possibility that your article may be accepted in that. And I'll like start from there. And even before submitting, of course, you focused on that and you prepare your article. Before submitting, again, I ask like go for comments from your colleagues or peer groups. It's very, very important, which gives you an idea what are the mistakes you have already done. Because why I say these things is that there are some journals which will not allow you to resubmit your articles or your findings again. So what happens is that you will lose those journals, because once you submit the article and it got rejected, it's rejected forever. You can't submit that same article with modification, improvement, revision, whatever you do. You cannot submit it. They will not accept it again for the peer review and the publication. So you have to go for another journal. If you ever have such kind of an idea like I have to publish in this journal, then always do all the groundwork. Ask your colleagues, ask the people who are experienced, and ask them to read it and give the feedback, then go for submitting them. So it will definitely improve with 2-3 people's reading. Peer review comments is the next level which comes to you. Once if your article is submitted, it's accepted by the editor for the peer review process. That is the next level. Then believe me, you will learn so many things from there, because if it accepts at the final stage or not, it's secondary. But if it goes for a peer review, then of course peer reviewer will help you to find out the weaknesses in your article. Even he will focus the strengths also, and he will give you the idea how you can improve your article for the further. Of course, if it is a good article, if it is accepted by the first round itself, well and good. It goes for the publication and it reaches to the audience which it's supposed to reach. For instance, it was not in the expected way for the journal. They needed some revision. They will ask you to submit a revision. If it is not in that level also, then they may reject it, but they will give you the feedbacks. That feedbacks will help you to improve the article and go for the next one. And the next point is there is tips is like, if you ask me to focus on the journals, I'll tell you there are a lot of journals by Taylor and Francis, Springer, Baldomer Macmillan, Edward Elgar, Sage, Wiley Publication, university presses like Oxford, and there are so many other Cambridge University presses. There are so many other presses like Princeton University Press. There are so many other presses. But all these are the standard publication which I am saying. I know there are a whole lot of publication in India, I know, and I don't say they're not standard one, of course, but there are a lot of which are not standard one. So my concern is about that, and I'll tell you why you should not go for that, publishing something in that. So tips for you people, if you consider it while going for publication, please always stay away from the predatory journals and publications or publishers. There are a whole lot of publications which I come across are just predatory journals. There are lists which you can get actually. It's very easy. It is not difficult to find out. There are some features which you can easily find out. Other than that, if you are then also not clear, is it a predatory or it is a good journal, then go to the list. There are lists which are published by Bell's list of predatory journals. So there are many other journals. If you Google also, you will find all those things. So please don't go for publishing in those journals, because I will tell you, I'm damn sure there will be 1 or 2% who is having an experience of that. What they do is that you submitted your article today, whatever the form it is, forget about language, that is secondary. Whatever the format it is not at all conveying some message, whatever it may be. Tomorrow they will publish overnight publications, or like within a day publications, so all these things. So it's quite easy, and it's easy getting publications, but it will not lead you anywhere. It will not teach you anything. So that's why be careful about those publications and try to find out those, who are they, why they publish. Most of them I know they take some money from you and they publish articles, and definitely that is not going to lead anywhere. And if your idea is to do something, achieve something, go outside, go abroad, get abroad scholarships, then definitely people will not look into that. So be clear about that. These journals, whichever I mentioned in the above line, all are standard one. They will take a lot of work from you, but they will not take a single paisa from you for publishing, but they will give you a standard publication. So, but it will teach you so many things. It may take even 2 years. It may even take 1.5 year, even 1 year to get a review report from them. But believe me, all those are learnings. All those are improvements. Even that waiting period will give you so much of patience. So that's where you have to focus on. And also look at the bigger picture. Imagine yourself there. Don't go for the simple things, easy things, not putting a lot of efforts, getting easily won. So never go for that, because in the future it will definitely affect your growth. And follow the basic ethics, which are, because I'll tell you, the predatory journals which I said, they will not go for a peer review. Peer review is something like somebody else is reading your report or research findings and the article and giving you the feedback. Why you did this particular method, why can't you go for the another methodology? That person asks you because he know that that can be done in this way. So that is where you get a criticism for somebody else. So that is very important. But these all journals, predatory journals, will not do that. They will not have a peer review process at all. They'll just publish whatever you give. So that's why I said don't go for them. And also the following basic ethics is there. And of course, I'm sure most of you people will be knowing about ethics is taught in research areas, or even I'm sure now UGC has done it very mandatory, a course on ethics in Indian universities. So I'm sure everybody is learning that. So follow those things while writing report. Be it is a report which is not going to be published, but it's going to be to a library or a funder. Then also you have to take care of that. Not copying from somewhere. This should not be plagiarized. It should be the own written. So these are the things which need to be focused. Those are the basic ethics which need to be kept in mind. And find the mentor or inspiration, or whoever the guide, or whoever the helping person, maybe a friend. I think most of the time a close friend of yours who may help you a lot. But be careful sometimes, like, because whoever the person is helping you for the growth or not, you have to find out that. Based on that, definitely if he's a good friend, a well-wisher, he will help you with each step of your growth. So be it a report again, be it an article, be it any higher level of publication, take the support of those people and go ahead. So I hope this is the last slide of mine. And I've given my email ID here, and phone number is also there. And of course, you can ask Shashikant sir if you want. I hope you have contact with him. You can ask him if you want those contacts. And if there is anything else which you want to know from me regarding all these publication issues or writing, you can ask me. If you think if I can help you out with that, you can always ask me. So I'm always happy to help. So Shashikant sir,
Yes, sir.
I
Thank you.
finish my session here. Yeah,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for briefing a few things, entire
yeah,
things on the report writing, how it is to be there, and what is the need and essence for the future career also. So there are a
yeah.
few questions. Quickly, we'll go through them. I hope you can see the Q&A panel.
Yes.
Yes, sir. If you could see them, or it will. I believe that it will take some time if I start briefing them again. So if
Yeah.
you could see the relevant questions and if you could answer them, that will be fine, I believe, sir.
I think, sir, it will be better if you read because I don't
Yes,
think so.
yes,
There are
yes.
people still typing, so I don't
Okay,
know.
okay, not a problem, sir. So there are few questions which has been raised by the some Tirumala is there. Why we have to follow the different format for the report writing, or is there any format available for all the requirements? She has asked.
Okay, so I think it's a good question, of course, and thanks for that. Because as I said, sometime it is there may not be a given format for which is applicable for all the departments. It depends on the universities, and also, as I said, it depends on whom you are writing a report. If it is to the university, then of course you can see that differences in, for example, if I take you as a subject. Like academic reports, you look at a state university and a central university in India, there is a whole lot of differences between them in the report writing. So because it is university administration which decides this is what need to be done. And also it depends on the person who is in the position, because somebody who came who is bit learned person in the sense experienced in that area, then of course he may change everything. So he may introduce a new system of that. So that entirely depends on the administration, and if it is a funder, of course, if you look at ICSSR needs in a different way. If you look at UGC needs in a different way. So that's what I said, you have to be careful whom you are writing the report and who are the readers and who are the owners of the report. That is more important while writing the report.
Yes. So there are a few more questions that has been a Kamarsit has raised a question that at the time of the interview of the people, is it needed to add the interview and appendix? As well as one more question that is raised by the Govind Sharma. How should be a research title written? Can you write study for the the question is not that so clear that he has asked a doubt with respect to the research title.
Okay, yeah. Let me give the answer for the first one. The first one, can you please recall that first question about?
So, interviewing of the people and adding the
Yeah.
interview list in the appendix.
Yeah, it may not be, because of course you have to maintain the ethical issues which comes there actually, because you cannot write the exact name of the person. But if your report requires that, right, then you have to give some synonyms for the person like ABCD or some dummy names. You cannot use the exact name of the person. You can give that if it requires, you can give that. Otherwise, you can say that you interview 20 people. From where? That need to be clear. So because while reading the report, the person should be clear where it was done, how it was done, and everything. But no need that you have to give all the 20 names.
Yes, sir. Sir,
Uh,
another question that has been raised,
Title.
that's about the following of the, which is most relevant with respect to the APA or MLA?
APA is the most relevant. That's what I said, because largely followed is APA, and uh, there are some journals or there are some funders may require you to go for other referencing style, but majorly followed is APA.
So one question raised in the chat box, that's regarding the knowing about the plagiarism. Different universities has the different opinion on the plagiarism, sir. Is it useful? What plagiarisms are more suitable?
What I suggest is that I know India uses a system called Urkund, But let me be very clear that Urkund will not give you the actual similarity. Actual, if you want, you have to go for Turnitin or the higher level of softwares, which are not available in all the universities. Of course, I'm damn sure it is not there in the state universities, of course, because you have to pay for that. Even many central universities may not be having it. But if you go for, of course, I agree that. But if you know, UGC has given a circular saying that it should not be below, it should be below 10%. If it is above 10%, there is a complete guidelines given by UGC, 10 to 20%, then these are the penalties or these are the decisions, 20 to 30%, 30 to 40%, 40 to 60%, then of course they're going to send you home, I think. So most of the, whoever it is, you in the sense, the people whoever did it. So if you go to UGC website, you will find that complete detail there. And I'm sure some universities may be having that in as a copy of that. So you'll get the idea there. But frankly speaking, go for some higher end plagiarism checking if it is possible for you.
There's one more question that has been raised. What is to be there in the research abstract?
Research abstracts, okay. So it is like one sentence or one sentence about your topic, what you are doing it, and a short note about your methodology, what you followed there, and a short note about the findings. This is more than enough. Then you have to put keywords. Keywords are like, if somebody searches Google, then they should be able to find your research immediately. That's why we call it as keywords, which should represent your complete report. That is where you have to give an important important topics only as a keywords, or words only as a keywords.
So Dr. Surya has raised a question stating that the interpretation of results specifically when two different statistical tools gives the different results. What is to be written at that time?
Two different statistical tools gives two different results, right?
Yes, yes.
That's what.
Yes.
Okay, of course you have to give a explanation for separate tools, right? Because if you use two tools, of course you have to give the result of both of that. Because in the research finding part or the analysis part, that's what you do. You use different tools, you have to give findings of the different tools. Then in the discussion part, you bring all those things together, and overall what is the finding that you discuss in the discussion part. There you will not differentiate.
Hope that we are clear to the participant crisis, and I request any participants who would like to speak with our expert so that you can raise your hand. We'll connect them to directly. If any participants are there, shall raise their hands. May I believe, or else the that we have cleared your all doubts before we wrap up the things. So if anybody is there, Mr. Shaker is there. Mr. Shaker,
Okay.
shall I believe that you would like to speak with our resource person? The session is open for you if you would like to speak anything. Please, Mr. Shaker. Okay, I believe that Mr. Chidanand K. Pattar is there. Chidanand Pattar, Chidanand K. Pattar is there. You just need to unmute your sessions so that you can speak with our resource person. Okay, that's by mistake. I believe that they have raised their hands off. That it looks like that we have cleared our, we have covered all of your doubts and questions. Is there, if anything is there, you can write it down in the Q&A panel also. So just I would like to request our another faculty, Mr. Gurudat Vaikal, to present the vote of thanks.
Yes, very good morning to all those who joined the session. I would like to take this opportunity to thanks those who joined organizing this session successful manner. First of all, I would like to thank the today's resource person, that is Dr. Rajendra Baikady sir, and giving a meaningful session on the research methodology and the research writing by giving step by step each information. And I would like to also thankful for the all the officials and authorities of the KSRD University and Vice Chancellor sir and Registrar sir, and also our teaching and non-teaching staff of KSRD University, supporting for organizing this section successful manner, and also thankful for all the participants who contributed for the success of this session. Thank you one and all, sir.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Rajendra sir, there is one request from the participants whether it could possible to share your PPT with them. They were requesting.
Yes, of course. I'll send it to you so that you
Fine,
can send.
I
Yes.
can share in their groups. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you much joining for us, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.